It was just another quiet, rainy morning in the small downtown cafe. Rain slid down the foggy windows like soft whispers, and the warm smell of fresh coffee filled the air. At the corner table by the window like clockwork at 7:15 a.m., an old man sat alone. His newspaper was always folded neatly, his coat slightly worn, and his hands trembled a little as he lifted his cup. Mia Collins, 24 years old, had been working at that cafe for 3 years. Life had been hard on her. She'd dropped out of college to care for her sick mother, and after her mother's passing, the cafe became the only place that still felt familiar. The chipped tables, the jingling doorbell, the regulars who paid in coins, it was all she had left. Every morning she noticed him. The old man. He wore the same wrinkled coat, the same old hat, and ordered the same thing: black coffee, 2 sugars, and a single slice of toast. He had no phone, no company, just silence and a kind nod when she set his plate down. "Good morning, Mr. Thomas," Mia would say with a bright smile. "And a better one because you're here," he'd reply softly. They never talked much, but their quiet routine became something special. She'd refill his cup before he asked, and he'd leave a tip exactly equal to the cost of his meal. "For your smile," he'd say, and every time Mia's cheeks turned pink. One particularly cold, rainy morning she saw him struggling with the buttons on his coat. His fingers trembled too much. Mia didn't even hesitate. She knelt beside him and buttoned it up gently. "There," she smiled, "you'll catch a cold otherwise." His eyes shimmered, as if carrying stories far too heavy to speak. "You remind me of my daughter," he whispered. Mia froze for a moment. "Where is she?" she asked softly. His smile faltered. "Far away," he said quietly. "Too far to come back?" After that day, Mia began saving a muffin for him every morning on the house. Sometimes when the cafe was empty, she'd sit across from him for a few minutes. He told her about bridges he once built, about how he'd helped shape cities, and how life sometimes forgets the people who built it. And then one morning he didn't come, not the next day either, nor the one after. By the 5th day, the chair by the window sat empty, like a wound she couldn't ignore. The cafe was noisy as usual, but to Mia it felt quieter, colder. She even walked to the park where he said he liked to feed pigeons. No sign of him. A week later, the morning rush had just ended when the door opened. 4 men in suits entered, followed by lawyers and bodyguards. Their serious faces didn't match the cozy warmth of the cafe. "Are you Miss Mia Collins?" one of them asked. Mia's heart skipped. "Yes," she whispered. "Miss Thomas instructed us to find you," the lawyer said gently. "Is he all right?" she asked, already feeling the answer in her bones. The lawyer's voice softened. "Mr. Thomas passed away 3 days ago." The world seemed to stop. The sound of the cafe faded. Mia sank into the nearest chair, the tears already burning behind her eyes. The lawyer continued. "Before his passing, he left specific instructions. You were the only person he mentioned by name." He placed a sealed envelope in front of her. Inside, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for treating an old man like he mattered. You gave me more warmth than money ever could. I've left something behind, not for what you did, but for who you are." Mia's tears blurred the ink. Then came the shock she never saw coming. The lawyer explained that Mr. Thomas wasn't just a quiet old man. He had once been the founder of a major engineering firm. He had wealth, properties, and a legacy. He just chose to live quietly after losing his wife and daughter, and in his will, he left everything to Mia. She shook her head, sobbing. No, this must be a mistake. I just served him coffee." The lawyer gave a faint smile. "Sometimes, Miss Collins, kindness is the rarest form of wealth, and he wanted to honor yours." Weeks later, Mia stood outside a large house on the hill, the one mentioned in the will. Inside, the walls were lined with old photographs, blueprints, and memories. On the mantel was a single framed photo of her, pouring him coffee. He must have taken it without her noticing. Beside it, a note in his handwriting. "The world forgot to be kind. But you didn't." She clutched the frame to her chest and cried for the man who found a friend in a waitress who simply cared. But Mia didn't sell the house. She turned it into a community cafe, Thomas' place where coffee was free for the elderly and the lonely. Every morning, she poured the first cup and set it at the corner table by the window, just the way he liked it. And sometimes when the light hit the chair just right, she swore she could see him sitting there, smiling quietly. Because in the end, it wasn't about coffee. it wasn't about money. It was about two souls, one forgotten, one struggling who found family in the simplest act of kindness.